This technique is called dancing dog prep. So Emily's going to go ahead and begin in a downward facing dog. Again, she steps into a fantastic plank to find the alignment, presses back to downward facing dog. Again, spreads the fingers, really roots into the floor. Shoulder heads open. Traps drawing down the back, spine long. Okay, so let's bring the feet together. Let's take the right leg to the sky. Good. Again, neutral pelvis. Looks great. Nice long lines here. Beautiful demi point. So now she's going to raise up onto the back foot. Good. She's going to start rolling forward as if she's doing a rolling knee, drawing that knee in. She's going to get about halfway through the exercise. Not quite shoulder heads over wrist. More about somewhere in the middle here. When she starts to rotate, this is very important, she starts to rotate this heel towards her hands. All the way around. It's a 180-degree turn. Clean turn. Let's do that one more time. It's so important. So she rotates again all the way around 180 degrees. Now this leg has threaded itself through and will extend out fully straightened and energized. All this energized so that there's no pressure on the joints. This extended foot is flexed, toes drawn back. She's going to now, this is a 3-point base. 1 point, 2 point, 3rd point. She's going to now lift the pelvis up and express the position. She's reaching back with this hand. She's getting a nice stretch in this middle back, really important. But while she's doing this, she's staying very stable. This is a really important concept. Now notice that the shoulder head's right over the wrist. If she were doing this the wrong way, let me take you out the wrong way, Em. She would have no stability here. This would not be comfortable. So she really has to have that shoulder head right over the wrist for her to have true stability. And she's got to keep that base foot that was pivoting the heel bent almost at a 90-degree angle. If she takes that leg out forward, no stability there. She falls and collapses. So it's very important that this knee stays bent while this leg that she had threaded through stays long and extended with the foot in the flexed position, working on the outer edge of the foot. Now to return, she needs to lower the pelvis down first. Draw the elbow and the knee back towards one another. At this point, she will rotate back towards the floor and make contact with her hand back into the same position that she started with. So if she places her hand over here, over here, over here, even anywhere off center, she's going to come back to a poorly aligned downward facing dog. So she's got to place her hands right back into a shoulder width distance apart as she takes that foot back to the sky. Now let's take it back through one more time. Just go and bring it, just go ahead and extend it through because I want to show them this. What I'm looking for you to really see here that's very important is that when she draws this foot back in, let's take it all the way back. Watch that heel. Do it one more time. So watch this heel as she rotates back around and it goes 180 degrees, returning to its original position. And you see, she would be completely out of alignment if this heel wandered in any direction, forward or back. So it's very important the whole time that you keep that ball of the foot or metatarsal, this area, rotating in a small circumference the entire time this is happening. And there's your dancing dog prep. This technique is called dancing dog. Emily's going to begin in downward facing dog. She starts in plank to set up her position, finds that good alignment, presses back to downward facing dog. Now from here, she's going to bring the feet together. She's going to extend the right leg to the sky. Notice neutral pelvis, demi point on the foot, very important. She's got a nice long spine here. She's got the fingers fanned open, connecting to the floor. Very strong position. A lot of times I come up behind my students and I push on them just to make sure they've got that activation happening between the ground and the sky. Good. Now from here, she's going to fold the heel to the sit bone first. This is the way I want it done. There's two ways. She could fold and open, or she could fold clean first, then open, Hold this for a moment, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for excellent alignment all along the way. So from here, she gets this nice stretch of the pelvis while she works to keep the shoulders in a neutral rotation, square with the floor. Now, she'll slowly start to work that foot to the floor behind her as she keeps this leg extended long, working to the outer edge of this foot. That foot naturally comes to the floor. This foot comes into a flexed position. She's on the outer edge. Now let's do that again and show them what's going on with the upper torso. So again, she folds, she opens, she starts working. Now what happens here is because of this counterbalance, this right hand naturally starts to rise up off of the floor to allow her torso to open up to the sky. She's extending back, reaching back, spreading the fingers open. And again, staying strong here. She's in a three-point base. 1, 2, 3. And she's super strong. She can push away and really resist that. All structure should be able to support weight if it's a good, solid structure. Now from here, she's going to lower the pelvis and draw the elbow in. Now, this is very important. Let's do that one more time. She comes up, she comes down. Let's do it again. So as she comes up to express the posture, she's going to come down to get ready to come up and roll and spill over, taking this leg with her all the way through, rotating that heel 180 degrees and extending that leg through, again to that flex position to the outer edge of the foot. She's basically back to the exact same position on the other side. So she's done a full rotation from the foot being, this foot being here behind her to now coming over and through. Same position, same strength, shoulder head over wrist. She's in an excellent position. To return, she again needs to lower the pelvis, draw the elbow and knee towards one another. Oh, there you go. And now she's got to rotate back over, make contact with the floor, get a good base position, extend that leg to the sky, coming back into down dog, leg extended. And there's your dancing dog. This technique is called Fighting Warrior 1. She's going to go ahead and come into a Warrior 1 posture. Let's talk about that for a moment. Basically, there are a few key points that I'm really passionate about when it comes to Warrior 1. One is that the feet are spacious enough to allow the pelvis to come into a neutral rotation. There are a lot of practices where people want to, pull that knee into place, working towards a neutral rotation. I personally like to go ahead and be in one. So I want us to be already square with the wall that we're facing. So she's got her knee directly over her ankle. She's got her back heel working, towards the back of the room. Foot is, slightly, I'd say, probably 11 o'clock, and that's totally fine. It's not important that the heel comes all the way to 12 o'clock in this particular stance. You can be here working in that direction. So a couple important things to note about the pelvis is that we don't want the pelvis tilting exteriorly. We want it to neutralize. We want it to get nice and straight. And that's going to have a lot to do with activating the belly, because if the belly relaxes, everything tilts here. So we want to really activate that, tuck those ribs, get real tight through here. And again, press that heel towards the floor and lengthen out and activate that back thigh as well. So when we draw our way up here, we get up to the hands. We're looking to take the shoulder heads down away from the ears. And for our particular practice, we like to interlace the fingers and create like a little sword, because we're trying to capture the spirit of the original warrior position. So let's take the elbows in. This is the movement, basically, let's do it one more time. This is the movement as it begins. The elbows draw in. She starts to shift the body weight forward. The knee comes in as well. Let's take it as far, basically like this. So she's kind of rounded here, it's totally fine. And she's going to extend out, good, into Warrior 3. Now what's important about this particular Warrior 3 is that you see how neutral that pelvis is. Again, not cocked open. Cock that pelvis open for me. No, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for a neutral pelvis rotation with also a nice clean demi-point, which she's got going on here. Great lines as she extends through here. So here's what's happening energetically. She's reaching for the front of the room while also reaching for the back of the room So one of the important things to note about stability is how stability works scientifically. There's a lot of stability in contraction and there's a lot of stability in expansion. Right now she's in an expansion position, so there's tons of stability. It's as if you take a bridge and you tie off one end of a rope to this end and one end of a rope to that end, and you pull it and then you get tons of stability. But if you let it sag in the middle, somewhere in between stable and contraction, somewhere between extension and contraction, you get this medium ground. There's not a lot of stability there. So let's go ahead and extend it out one more time. Good. Now let's contract it here. Contract it. Good. And expansion. One more time. Yeah, one more time. Good. And one more time into contraction. Now come on up. Let's lift it up. Okay, good. Gotcha. Go ahead and extend that leg out. Now notice how much clean extension is going on here. That foot's in a great demi point. Got her hips, because keep her balanced here. Now, what she needs to do to keep herself balanced is she's got to keep rising through the crown of this head. So she's got to push into the ground, yeah, and lengthen up. That's what creates that stability. Okay, so sink down and do it, kind of just sink. If she sinks in, she'll fall over. So she's really got to lengthen out through that. She's going to retract the foot back to a chamber position. She's going to shift forward, reaching out, extending out. Good. Back to warrior three. Excellent. And she's going to slowly decelerate down. Watch that thigh. She slowly comes down. Beautiful. Into place. Takes it back. Gets a nice stretch through the thoracic spine, the middle back. Good. And then she would start the exercise all over again. And there's your fighting warrior one. This technique is called Fighting Warrior 2. Emily's going to begin in a Warrior 2 static posture. As you can see, let's look at the fundamentals of this posture. Front foot is 12 o'clock, knee is over the ankle, back leg is strong, really activating that back thigh. She's pressing the outer edge of that foot into the floor. She's got the belly firm, ribs tucked, shoulder head's drawing down, lengthening the crown of the head, two energy lines going in opposite directions. So she's in a very good Warrior 2 posture. Now she's going to slowly start shifting back. And she's going to she's going to come into a cross block position first. We've talked about that. This is to protect the body during the blocking transition. She will then, this hand will scoop and block the lower leg. This hand will scoop and block the head. And I say scoop because that action is what's happening during that. Boom. So she's blocking with this part of the arm here, as opposed to blocking along where the arteries are. She's blocking with the bone here. Good. And this hand doing the same thing, blocking palm down here. Now she's sinking really in this, because this is a hip opener. We're really trying to open up these hips, get down into this. So you notice also, let's come back to that first position real quick. You notice what happens here in this front foot. Very important. Watch this again. As she shifts back, this heel rotates 45 degrees. Okay, so it goes from here all the way to here, so she can turn away. If she tried to do this with her foot straight, try to do this, her knee would be in jeopardy, and she would not really be in a good stable position for martial arts. So she always wants to rotate that heel, and please rotate on the ball of the foot. Do not rotate on your heels. You'll have no balance. Okay, now, from here, she's going to shift forward. She's going to scoop this hand in. She's going to turn the palm to the sky and lunge forward with this. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people will say, well, you're never supposed to take your knee over your ankle. But here's the reality. This is something done to protect the common masses in movement. If your knee is strong, and you can shift forward comfortably, you can take your knee over your ankle. If your heel starts coming off of the floor, there's a danger there for me, as far as I'm concerned. I want that heel on the ground, and if you can take it there comfortably, without putting pressure on that joint, you're okay. The minute you feel anything similar to pain, take it back. You're working too far up against that edge. So it's a very simple idea. You can come as deep as you want into this pelvis, as far as you want, as long as you're comfortable and your range of motion is there. So she takes it back. Let's demonstrate just that technique a couple times by itself. Good. Comes back. Lunges through. Beautiful. She really gets down in those hips, because that's what this is about, opening up the hips and reaching. Beautiful. Now let's look at the advanced version. Let's come back to the block position. So from the block position, now she's going to reach forward and she's going to come up and basically extend out. It's a balancing posture. She's just really working on that balance. Come on, down, nice and slow and smooth. Beautiful work. Good. So what this is really about, again, let's do it again. This is about coming up and finding that balance there. Good. And coming back down. Nice. Well done, Emily. Hold there. Good. And that is Fighting Warrior 2. This next technique is called floating lunge. Al's going to come into a downward facing dog. He's going to go ahead and just step this right foot to the outside of his right hand. Good. So he's going to basically begin in a low lunge position with, again, the foot on the outside of the hand. Hands should be shoulders width distance apart, spine nice and long, activating this cobra hood through here as well to create power, because what he's going to do is he's going to put a nice a little bend in the back knee. He's going to pulse a bit, demonstrate that pulsing. So from the pulsing, he's going to get a little spring off of the ground. So as he pulses and he springs up, he's going to switch the feet. Good. You see how smooth and soft he lands because he's activating his belly and that cobra hood the whole time. He keeps his chin facing down the entire time as well. If he looks up, he's going to deactivate all of this. So he's going to keep that chin down so that he can keep this activated and the belly activated. So again, he's going to pulse and he's going to float. Nice. He's going to pulse. He's going to float. Nice. Okay, Al, let's give him one for the people at home. All right, nice and easy. There it is. So you can do this. Not everybody can do what Al does right off the bat, but if you need something that's really accessible right away, just look for your feet to land as softly as possible. So he floats, keeps it low, and he keeps it soft. If he deactivates his belly and his shoulders, this is what it's going to sound like. And again, you're floating too much. Let it even less. Worse, worse, worse. That's what you're looking not to do. So if he looks to activate that belly and this, and he keeps it low, he can do a simple low lunge. And that's what he'll get out of it. And there's your floating lunges. Good job, Al. This technique is called front kick. Emily's going to step into a futodachi or fighting stance. Let's face camera with this one time first, then we'll rotate around. Let's work through our 6 positions from this kick. First position is fighting stance or futodachi. Second position is zenkutsudachi or forward facing stance, where the pelvis comes into a neutral rotation. Front foot does not turn until the 3rd position, so stay still. Let's demonstrate that one more time. Rotation, rotation. Good. Now from here, I'm going to give you some balance. She's going to rise up to a chambered knee position. That's 3rd position. She's going to extend the foot out. Full extension, foot is in a demi point. Very important so that you don't break your toes. You can't kick things with your toes. Your foot must be in a full demi point for several reasons. Let's rest for a second. I want to talk about this demi point. Go ahead and give me that front kick to me. So when she extends for this front kick to me, well, here's what's important. Not only can she not make contact with her toes because she would break them, but number 2 is once this foot is activated, it creates a muscular brace around the knee joint and the ankle that really works its way all the way back to the hip. So when she relaxes this foot, the whole leg relaxes. You can see it physically relax. When she flexes, you can see the thigh, and when she relaxes, the whole leg changes. So this activation is paramount to being able to deliver a technically correct front kick while protecting the joints. Good. So now let's finish breaking it down. Stay where you're at. So I'm going to be a balance bar for you. You're going to hold my arm. Let's go ahead and rotate into position 2. Good. Zenkutsudachi. Position 3, chambered knee. Position 4, extension. Position 5, recoil or rechambering of the leg. And position 6, a stepping back into position. Okay, now let's look at a front kick at full speed. Nice. Good. Let's step back, show them a few times. Good. Notice that Emily has a fantastic recoil with her kick. So if she were to extend that leg, it would be easy to catch. So she recoils in order not to grab that leg as she's kicking. So if she's kicking me here, if she's got to really pull back a little faster on the recoil. And so she's really not looking for me to be able to grab that leg. You better do it faster than that. Fast. Good. And again, faster, faster, faster. So, and kick me faster. Good. That's the way it needs to be done. Quick, with speed. You've got to be committed to the movement because you don't want to pretend to do a front kick. You want to really do it, deliver a properly executed front kick. So, that's how front kick is done. This next technique is called jab reverse punching. So Al, let's go ahead and stand up. Come into a fighting stance, Fudachi facing this direction. Good. So with jabs and reverse punches, there's a couple things that are fundamental if you're going to punch correctly without injuring your joints. One is, let's look at a simple jab punch. Okay. So as Al, let's come back with the hands, just a relaxed, boxer style. So as he goes to jab with this hand, I like personally to keep my hands soft and loose because I don't know if I'm going to need to grab or just simply parry or if I'm going to need to punch. So I like to keep the hands soft throughout the entire movement. So if his hands are soft, even though he's about to jab, he's soft here until he squeezes. Well, let's squeeze a little bit earlier. Squeezing there, right there, boom. So we want the fist. We know we're getting ready to strike. So as we're getting ready to, the fist tightens up so we don't waste that energy to squeezing the whole time. So he's soft, punch, boom. So let's go ahead and demonstrate that. Good. Now he's got a couple choices in terms of how he wants to deliver this, where his hand is at. Let's do it again real slow. He could leave the fist this way. This is more traditional Chinese. I like this style. It's fun. It's safe for the wrist too. Wrists don't really get compromised too much with this side position. This, you do risk a little bit more of this going on, but since you're not punching anybody in our DVD, you don't have to worry about that. So we can work with the fist in the sideways position or rotate it all the way over. If we're going to rotate the fist all the way over, or actually sideways, either one, we're going to work with making contact, surface contact with these front two knuckles. Never hit anything with your small knuckles, but the front two. So you've got a strong fist position here. Now, let's take it back into position. So when you throw this, here's the key thing. If the hand does not contract enough, it puts pressure on the elbow. So as he jabs, if he does not contract this fist, he won't create a muscular brace around the elbow joint or the wrist. So that's what really creates that bracing and that strength there. So the contraction of the fist plays a paramount role in protecting the joints. So you cannot throw a fast jab with a loose fist any more than you can throw a fast kick with a loose foot. So it's very important that the extremity is fully in contraction, so to activate all the muscles throughout the limb. So there's your jab. Now the reverse is the same thing. The reverse comes, the only difference in this being is that you're working with both of the arms at the same time. So as this draws in, this extends out. So you actually use a push-pull effect to create this. So as this pulls, this pushes. So now so let's come to a regular fighting stance. So he pushes with this, he pulls with this. Boom. Then he reverses and he pushes with this. It's a very traditional way to do it. If you're going to do it in a real fighting sense, he's got both hands up the whole time. So as he pulls with this, he pushes with this, but he keeps this to guard his face. Good. And then he reverses, and this comes to guard his face. Good. Let's do that a couple of times. Now throw a couple of these medium speed. Good. Throw the combination together. Good. Good. So that's pretty much how you do your jab and reverse punch. Just remember, key thing, keep your fist super tight the entire time so that you protect the joints, you don't have any hyperextension. You can throw these as fast and smoothly as you want, as long as everything's activated at the end and all the joints are protected. Another important aspect of the punch is where the thumb is. A lot of people, when they're first learning to punch, will grip their thumb. Of course, that will break the thumb joint if you make contact with anything. You want to actually roll the fingers in super tight, gripping the skin inside the hand, and close that fist off as tight as you can. And take that thumb across and lock it into place. As you can see, that's where the thumb locks. Got a super strong position. And finally, it's really important when you do make contact with these first two knuckles that the fist is slightly rotated in this direction. If your fist is straight with your arm, it won't hit flat properly. It'll hit the pinky knuckles. The pinky knuckle will make contact along with this index finger knuckle. That's not what you're looking for. You're actually looking for that lead knuckle to make all the contact here, the first two. So you want to create what we call in Japan like a little snake head, slight rotation forward. And there's what you get from that. You get that right into the sternum. You've only got 3 points to make contact on as well when you're punching, which is the center line of the body. You've got point 1, point 2, and point 3. Those are your 3 main punches when you're punching along the center of the body to start working towards. So let's go down to the feet and take a look at what's going on while we're punching. So Al, would you do some nice smooth jab reverse punches? And let's focus on what's going on in the lower body. So as he jabs, the pelvis rotates slightly in this direction for the jab, and then it squares up with the target for the reverse. So it does an external rotation for the jab and a neutral rotation for the punch. Now, it depends on what kind of punch he's doing. If he's attacking with the punches, then the heel can come off of the ground. So if he's attacking moving forward, he can rotate this heel all the way off of the floor as he's pushing forward with the punch. But if he was defending the position, I personally like to draw the heel to the floor and keep contact and drive forward so that when he pushes with the earth as well. So he's got a strong base point. So again, let's look, he's attacking, so he's pushing forward, he comes up on the ball of the foot. If he's defending, he drives the heel into the floor and drops down and uses his weight to stabilize himself. So if I'm coming this way and he's going to drop down and defend, forget about that. Let's just go with that reverse. Boom. And this locks him down into place, and he's super strong. He's connected to the ground. But if he's driving forward, then he wants his whole body behind the movement. And that's pretty much how you punch. One more important thing. Shoulder heads. Don't let them lift up around your ears. If you punch, let's throw that reverse. If you throw that reverse with that up, you've lost all the power that you can generate with the lat. Draw that shoulder head down, you engage the lat, you punch with the entire shoulder girdle. So you get a lot of power there. If this comes up, again, you lose the ability to use this. So drawing down, that's where you get, in my opinion, a lot more power out of the punch. Let's do it real slow, let them see it. Draw the shoulder down, boom, and you can drive there. So let's leave that hand up as you do it as well. Boom, here. So he's always got that hand up in case he needs to block with the punch. And there's your reverse jab punch combination. This technique is called judo roll. Al's going to start with his feet extended out in front of him. We're going to demonstrate how to basically roll like a ball so that you can activate the proper areas of the body that need to be turned on and off during this exercise. So let's go ahead and show him how to roll like a ball, Al. Pretty simple. Spine's rounded because the belly stays, or the core stays activated, and he's able to roll on the spine back and forth. Now, you notice that his head's not touching the ground. As he rolls down, the head is off the ground. The head is off the ground the entire time. So now he's going to use his arms as part of the exercise now to collect some of the impact as he rolls back. Good. Now, one thing that he wants to do as he comes back, he wants to actually, as we tuck one foot behind the knee of the other leg, this is going to naturally open up the knees so that this never happens. Bonk. That wouldn't feel good. You're looking to instead of keeping the knees open, to tuck one of the feet behind the other leg, spreading the knees open. This will serve two purposes. One will be to keep you from hitting yourself in the face. The other will be, as you come up into a standing position, you'll be able to push back onto that back leg. Let's see if you can do that. I'll demonstrate that. He steps up, here he goes, and he pushes back onto that opposite leg. Then he tucks that same leg under, sits down, comes back, comes up, steps back. Good. So what you're looking to avoid is falling down. You're looking to learn literally how to sit down and collapse as opposed to being pushed down and tipping over like a tree. If Al were to come with his feet together, bring your feet together, let's do it the wrong way, and I pushed him down, that's not a great way to fall. So what we're looking for here with the judo fall is, so as I push him down, he collapses, sits, absorbs the impact with his arms, stands up, and he's in a nice fighting position. And that's your judo roll. Thanks, Al. This technique is called knee strike. Emily's going to step into a fudodachi or fighting stance. You'll notice in this stance that the feet are visible to you as the camera or you as the audience. You can see both her back foot and her front foot. If she steps her back foot behind her, she's in a straddle stance. We like to work our techniques out from this immovable or fudodachi stance, which is the foot is a little offline in the back so that the pelvis is a little bit more towards the towards your opponent as opposed to completely being externally rotated away from. So now from here, she's going to rotate this back heel. This is our second position. Our first position is here. Our second position is here. This is called Zenkutsudachi or forward-facing stance. Now her back heel is working its way into the floor, nice and strong, and she keeps his foot solid. So as she moves his back foot back and forth, you see there's no rotation happening here. Good. Now one more time. So now when she rotates on this third position, this heel does rotate and allow the pelvis to open up. So she's going to draw this knee up as she comes through, and notice how this heel, let's do that again. I'm going to hold, here, use my arm for stability. Now notice on this next rotation as this base heel rotates towards target, or towards you as the camera. Good. Taking it back. Good, and one more time. She's in one, she's in two, now she's in three, chambered knee. Look at the demi point, the nice clean, she's tucked real tight. Let me turn you around, hop around slightly. Now, notice the tight chambering she has here. If this leg was loose, it wouldn't, there's a reason we're looking for that. The tighter that chamber is, it's almost like pulling a rubber band back so it's got more energy, you know, as we release it. She wants this tight so when she extends for a front kick, it fires out. Let's do it quicker. Quick, quick. There you go. Okay, step it down. Okay, let's go ahead and demonstrate that knee strike full speed. Good. Good, a lot of good control there. A little quicker. There it is. Now gain forward, come on, step forward with it. There you go. Step back one more time. There it is, nice. Draw in, pull in as you do it. There you go. Notice how she keeps her hands up the whole time. She never drops her hands by her side. This would be the wrong way to do this technique, right? Leaving her head wide open. So she keeps her knees up in case this happens. So she's always protecting her head. All right, there's your knee strike. This technique is called Kung Fu stretches. Alan's going to step into a straddle stance facing camera. Good. Now from here, Al's going to basically, let's go begin shifting side to side, just give him the idea of how this works. So you notice one thing that's really important is that he keeps his pelvis completely on track the whole time. So he's not bobbing up and down. Let's show him what that would look like. If he bobbed, he comes up, he sinks down. He comes up, he sinks down. In this case, he's moving across like he's on a track, keeping it really low, working into those hips. Okay, now, notice that the feet rotate just a little bit back and forth. Totally fine. Don't worry about that. There's a little rotation happening there when he moves away from a leg. It's natural that the heel will push away. Now, he's going to lift his hands off of the ground. Let's get that torso up. Now he's going to start moving. Now you notice that the leg that's extended away, the hand reaches down the leg. Starting good. So he's starting to add his blocks in now. Now let's look at these blocks. So this is called a cross block. Noticing that, let's come to that trend right there. So he takes this hand down. This is a cross block. So he's in a guarded position. As this hand works its way to the sky, scoops up this hand. Notice the scooping of the palms. So my friend Jaco says scooping the bowl. Scooping the bowl. Here. Good. So as you scoop the bowl on either side, good. Now notice this hand is directly over the head so that he can block, which is what that's for. Here, okay? This hand is to block a kick. So let's come back to me again. And as I go to front kick, boom, that's what happens. Again, boom. It's a very simple technique. One more time. Boom. Okay, so this is a very fun way to start adding blocks into your movement. Back and forth, back and forth. Now, with this block, you want to look to block with that heel or palm of the hand, right around where that little bone is there. That's really strong, can make strong contact and break things. Let's add one more detail in here, the feet. As he's shifting back, let's try not to let that foot roll up. Let it roll up for a second. Not good on the knees, okay? There's no stability there. Make sure you're driving the edge of that foot into the mat, staying super strong here. Firming these thighs and really staying active through the movement so you're not putting unnecessary pressure on your joints. And there's your Kung Fu stretches. This technique is called roll to standing. All right, Al, let's go ahead and face the audience here. Take yourself to the ground. Good. We're going to look at this in two different ways. First, we're going to look at it from a forward position. He's going to go ahead and take one foot folded under. Go ahead and base this left foot. You want to make sure that you've got your folded leg tucked down and behind the lead foot. And you want to keep this foot based to the ground as much as possible. Hands are extended out behind you. He's going to roll up. This is a core exercise. That's what's important about it. He's going to roll up. He's going to use his elbows as he rolls up. Go ahead and do it slowly. He draws his elbows in. Also very important to guard his face. As he gets to this first position on his butt, he's just really nice. And this position, ultimately, from a functional standpoint, you should be able to defend yourself in it. In other words, if I'm pushing on out here, no matter where we're doing, he's able to stay here and work from here. So this is a very functional position. From here, he's going to roll up to his knee. This will be position 2. Now from here, he uses his pelvis. So he comes back from the butt again, and he comes up and he uses his pelvis to push forward, because that's where all your strength and power is coming from in this particular technique. So that's position 2. Position 3, he's going to rotate. I'll go ahead and rotate that way so they can see this. So he's here in position 2. Position 3, he's going to rotate his foot open onto the ball of his foot. In position 4, he's going to rotate his knee open into a fighting stance. So now let's reverse it. Knee comes back down, foot tucks under, butt sits down, and he lays back. He comes up, position, and rolls all the way through. And now he's standing. Knee goes to the ground, tucks the leg, sits back down, takes it all the way back. And there's your roll to standing. This technique is called rolling knee. Emily, let's go ahead and begin in a downward facing dog position. So as you can see, Emily sets her downward facing. Come back in, that's good. You see how she sets up her downward facing dog? She comes into a nice clean plank, checks, see if her shoulder heads are over her wrists. And she's not again sagging in the pelvis or pushing up at the pelvis. She's nice and neutral here, very strong. A lot of energy happening in the belly and whatnot. So now she presses back to downward facing dog. She finds that proper alignment. And if you're looking for good alignment on your downward facing dog as well, is you can draw a fist distance between the heels. Gives you a good idea of what your alignment is with your hips. Because ladies, your hips are not out here. A lot of times I get women in my class and they love to step their feet this wide when I say hips width distance. So the good news is that your hips are actually only as wide as your fist. Good. So let's go ahead. Bring the feet together. So the first position in this technique is feet together. Then the right leg is going to extend to the sky. Good. Now what we're noticing here is that clean alignment that she has going through here. So it's really nice and clean there. So there's no soft, put a soft bend there. This isn't really happening. If she softens up here, she's not going to get the kind of energy that she needs to push back in this direction and keep the energy pushing at the floor as well. So she's really creating two lines. She's pushing against the sky, if you will, and against the earth. Two different directions. Good. Now from here, she's going to rise up on the back foot. She's going to begin rolling wave motion. So she's begin rolling the spine in as she draws the knee in simultaneously. Again, rounding that spine more and more and more, pushing that ground away. Nice cobra hood happening here. Lots of stability, very strong position. Shoulder heads right over the wrist, and she's going to take the leg back to the sky. Good, and back to a very clean, neutral position on the hip. You notice the hip's very neutral. We don't want to cock it open. This is a habit that a lot of people get into because they've got this range and it feels good. So what people want to do is overexploit areas where they have hyperflexibility. So what we're looking for is not to do that in this particular case. So if she was a dancer and she had really open hips, she doesn't want to keep exploiting that because she doesn't learn to build any strength in that neutral position. And that's what we're really looking for out of this practice. So let's do it one more time. Okay, left side. She's going to rise up on the foot. She's going to activate the belly, start rolling forward, spreads the cobra hood. Now notice this foot in a clean demi point the entire time to keep that energy happening. So this foot never comes out of that demi point. She takes it back to position. And again, it remains clean and demi pointed. Demi point, again, would not be a flex position. It would be extended foot, toes drawn back, revealing that metatarsal. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and rest. And there's your rolling knee. This technique is called rolling lunge. Emily's going to begin in a downward facing dog. If you'll notice, she first comes into a plank again to always set this technique up properly. She's going to press herself back now to downward facing dog. It's going to be our first position to start from. You notice that her fingers are spread wide as well, fanned open. She's really gripping the floor with the fingers, using the hands to root herself to the ground. Arms long, shoulder heads rotating open, working down the back, spine nice and long, pelvis neutral. Now from here, she's going to bring her feet together. Take her left leg to the sky. She immediately demi points that foot. Let's do that one more time for them. Watch how this foot, as soon as it lifts off of the floor, yes, translates into a demi point. Fantastic. That's really good footwork, because in martial arts we have several foot positions. Bear with me, Emily. We've got a flexed foot. We've got a demi point. We've got a full point. We've got a flexed foot with an edge for a side kick. We've got a back kick. So we've got several positions. So you really need to work to articulate all of these positions with the feet. So she's going to first rise up on the ball of that foot. She's going to activate that belly and start drawing that knee forward as she rolls forward. Now notice the tilting open of the knee. So she wants to keep her pelvis in a neutral rotation all the while she's tilting this knee open, as opposed to what she was doing in rolling knee, where she brought the knee in forward. In rolling lunge, you tilt the knee open to get a little opening happening there through the pelvis. Now what she wants to do here is continue that forward roll. Knee comes to the shoulder. She's in their cobra hood, nice and strong. She releases that foot to the floor very calmly. She lowers the pelvis down, gets a counter stretch here through the thoracic, lets the pelvis again work its way down, lifts through the heart, doesn't put any strain on the neck, stays long here, but doesn't go back like this. Wouldn't be good for your neck. So you want to stay long here, shoulder heads drawing back. Let's take it back in the other direction. Chin comes to chest, up, up, up. Slow down, grasshopper. Chin to chest first. Activate here first. Push all the way up. Cobra hood first. She creates space. Then she chambers this leg. Then she takes this leg back to the sky. Good. And she gets that nice extension again, and she's back to first position. Leg slowly works its way down to the floor, back to position, and there you have rolling lunge. This technique is rolling wave. Now let's step ourselves into a plank position. Plank is going to set up our foundation so that we can move back into downward facing dog, which is the position that rolling wave is executed out of. So plank position, we have to have a lot of strength here in the shoulder area. If he collapses in, no good. He's got to push through here. Strong, very sturdy foundation. The pelvis is, again, also in a neutral rotation. It's not sagging. It's not overextended. Good. So his energy lines are working. Crown of the head this direction, heels that direction. That's what creates all the stability there. Great. Now his shoulder heads are over his wrists again, just so we're clear there, so that if he's too far forward, again, you see how that causes the belly to collapse in. So he's got to stay right there to be in a good alignment. Okay, now he's going to press back, downward facing dog. Good. From here, fingertips spread, or fingers spread, fingertips really engaged working the floor. So if I grab his fingertips, really tough because he's rooted in. So his forearms are rotating in, his triceps and whatnot rotating open, shoulder heads rotating open away from the ears, triceps working down the back, spine is nice and long, belly is, firm, engaged, neck again is soft. He's just gazing back towards his feet or his belly. From here, the pelvis being in a neutral rotation, the legs are strong and they're as straight as possible. It's all up to an individual's range of motion. If Al didn't have, lengthened, flexible hamstrings, he could softly bend his knees, sink down, just keep that spine nice and long, and that'd be perfectly fine. So if you've got that range of motion, feel free to, bend your knees and get comfortable. Since Al's nice and flexible, straighten those legs out, work those heels towards the floor. Now from here, he's going to rise up, starting on the balls of the feet. We're going to work our way up here to the pelvis because we're going to see in this lower back the first action that happens as the belly engages. The lower spine starts to round. Rolling ourselves forward, vertebra to vertebra to vertebra. Starts to spread this back open. Nice, pushing up, hold. Cobra hood, very powerful position. Lats are engaged. Everything, pecs, shoulder area, the whole shoulder girdle is activated here. This is a very strong position. He can hold me physically, my whole body up here. So he's got a lot of energy, and the belly, everything's drawing up. Now from here, now that his shoulder heads are over his wrists, he can start to let that pelvis lower towards the floor. As he lengthens and lifts up through the thoracic spine, shoulder head's working back, down, good. Doesn't matter if he's looking up or if he's looking forward, as long as he doesn't crunch up here in his neck. So if he can gaze forward, if he can gaze up and keep space here, he's totally fine. So now, to start the reverse of this technique, he's going to bring his chin to his chest. He's going to push into my finger and activate that cobra hood here first. Hold, good. And keep working your way back, vertebra to vertebra to vertebra. Belly's lifting him up all the way back into position. Heels work towards the floor. And there you have rolling wave. This technique is called shoulder punch. Let's come up into our straddle stance, Alan. Let's go ahead and do it facing the camera first. Good. So let's go ahead and draw on up completely, straight up. Good. Hand, fist extending out. Let's go ahead and sink into this. Give them good. The sideways vision of this. Now, what's important to remember right away is that the shoulders are completely squared to the front of the room for you. So if you're punching, then you are externally rotated away from that punch, okay? Now you're gazing in that direction, obviously, because you want to look at where you're punching. This wouldn't make much sense, would it now? So you need to look at where you're punching. But the shoulder head, this back shoulder needs to be completely, basically, if you were looking in the mirror, hidden from view. So he can't see this. It's hidden. Good. Now, what he's going to do is he's going to keep that pelvis low as he shifts across, extending this leg, digging into this hip over here, and again, coming to that external rotation of the shoulders. Now, in terms of your punch, fist can be this way, fist can be that way. I'm okay either way. Here or here. Let's not do that. Let's keep it here or here. Good. So, as he draws this hand in, he extends this hand out, and he uses that shoulder to really draw and get that power behind the movement. So he draws this in as he pushes that out. And he uses these feet to dig in. He sinks into the, let's do it one more time so we can see down below. Good. He pushes into that. Then he shifts back and he pushes there. So he's really using the pelvis as well to generate power from the hip. Power from the hip. Good. Because what's really important when we punch is our hip power. If we don't have any hip involved, there's not going to be very much power coming from these punches. So as he draws that punch in that direction, that pelvis, so he's going to fire with this pelvis as he punches in that direction. And it's going to really generate a lot of power. So throw him one really strong, fast one now. Good. And again. And again. Good. And the tough part about this exercise is staying stable the whole time, because you're really not in the most stable position, but that's part of this exercise, to learn to create stability from a position that's not very stable, because you never know how you're going to need to deliver a punch. So there's your shoulder punch. There you go, Al. Nice. This technique is switch roll. Let's go ahead and take it to your butt, Al. Good. He's going to sit down and basically start in the same position as he did for roll to standing. So from here, he takes his hands, extending them out behind him. He's going to roll up to it. Now, here's the difference between a switch roll and a roll to standing. Instead of coming up to that position where he comes up with the pelvis forward, he's going to simply roll the knee to the floor, crossing the center line of his body, and rotate the opposite knee up as he lays back into position. So let's do it a few times. He rolls up, he switches the knees, this knee comes up and takes him down. So it's very simple in this sense. Now let's turn it around now so they can see from a different view. Because as he rolls up, switches. Now notice what happens here. If he stays really low and just rolls right over his heels, that'll be the optimal way to perform this, or to execute this technique. Let's do it again. Good. One more out. Come up and hold for me. Great. And there's your switch roll. This technique is called tabletop Tibetan. Alan's going to start in a seated position. He's going to bend his knees, bring his feet about a shoulder's width distance apart. He's going to base his hands on onto the floor next to his hips. He's going to lift his pelvis up, basically coming into tabletop. Shoulders drawing open. This should be a nice shoulder opener for you. You should feel a lot of spaciousness there. Try not to let the neck collapse down. Keeping that energy there, working that direction. is going to really create more freedom and space in the neck and strengthen those muscles as well. Now, he's basically going to let his pelvis lower down, swinging through and past the hands. He comes to his heels with his feet basically each in a flexed position. And he's going to repeat this pattern, lifting up, tabletop, lowering down, swinging through. Complete contraction of the abs, or what are happening here, as again he comes through, lifting up, spreading, opening, lengthening through the spine, and again, releasing the pelvis through, lifting, activating that cobra hood here, activating that core here. One more time. Good. And if you really want a tough version of this to work that core, swing it back through, Al. Lift these feet off of the ground. Nice. Release the feet and up. Good. Al's tough. All right, rest it. And that's tabletop Tibetan. This technique is called water wheel. We're also going to include advanced water wheel along with the sequence. So Emily, let's go ahead and come up into a right leg forward lunge. Good. So from this position, Emily's going to extend her right hand overhead, rotating her torso, getting a nice twist here. She uses the left hand to base, and she keeps a nice hip width distance between the left hand and the right foot. She's got the arm extending out, again torso rotating open as much as possible while keeping the pelvis in a neutral rotation and the heel working towards the back of the room. Now from here, she's going to extend the hand behind her. As she rotates the hand up in front of her, turn this palm open and bring the fingers together. Good. So we're creating almost like a bit of a kung fu action. So she's got the palm down in the back, palm up in the front. Now, notice she's really working to keep this position stable. So from here, she's going to go ahead and begin swimming the arms backwards, like a backstroke really, as she rotates the feet along with the movement. And now she begins a forward stroke of the arms, keeping again the hands moving in opposite directions like clock arms. She gets to the same position on the opposite side with the left hand extended above. Okay, let's try it again. She takes the left hand behind her as she extends the right hand up. She stops here just to feel this position. She works her way. Let's do this. Instead of you letting this come out, I want you to take this down. Good. Down, down, good. And start spinning. Good. Very nice, very nice, very nice. Taking it over the head. Beautiful. Now let's look at the advanced version of this. She takes the hand behind her. She comes up. Now she's got her base. This is the tough part. She's got to come up and balance. Not an easy posture. Now she's got to decelerate down with that thigh, lowering slowly and smoothly, and then rotating everything to the opposite side. And let's do that one more time. She brings it up. She rises. Yes, good. And slowly comes down and takes it back to the opposite side. Beautiful. And let's hold there. Good. And that's your water wheel along with the advanced modification.